the Southern Poverty Law Center issues every year an analysis of what happened in the prior year amongst hate groups and other groups on the radical right. In years past, we've concentrated exclusively on hate groups, on race-based groups like the Klan and neo-Nazi groups. This year, we took a much broader look at the radical right in general because it has grown so very much. What we found was really something quite extraordinary. We haven't seen anything like this for years. We saw, first of all, hate groups are at record levels right now. On top of that, we saw groups that are all about immigrants, anti-immigration groups like the so-called Minutemen groups that have grown by 80% in just the last year. And most astoundingly of all, we saw a real explosion in militias and the larger anti-government Patriot Movement. In fact, there was a growth of 244%. There were 309 new militia and patriot groups that appeared just in the year 2009. It was really quite extraordinary. The thing to really understand about the Patriot Movement and the militias, which are the paramilitary wing of the Patriot Movement, is that they really believe the government is part of an evil scheme to do in Americans. This is a movement that sees the government as the primary enemy and is also completely eaten up with all kinds of conspiracy theories about martial law, about concentration camps, about the Federal Reserve acting as an evil agent, and the list goes on and on. The economy being in shambles, so many people being unemployed, has left a lot of people hurting, frustrated, angry, and looking for a reason why they are in the place they're in. In addition, I think that a great many people out there are very angry over things like the bank bailouts, the bailout of the auto industry. You know, what they see, I think, is a government simply pouring money into the hands, really, of the elites, of people who then go on to get bonuses of millions of dollars at the end of the year, and they don't feel that what the government has done to try and end the recession is really reaching real working people. So there's a great deal of anger and frustration out there, and that is being channeled sometimes by conspiracy theories or by scapegoating certain groups into this kind of rage we are seeing all across the country. What we saw in the 1990s was a huge amount of criminal violence associated with the Patriot Movement and militias in particular. That is really the worry. Ultimately, in the 1990s, of course, the Oklahoma City building was bombed, leaving 168 people dead, including 19 children. That, I think, is the worst-case scenario. I don't think we're going to see another Oklahoma City, but the period we're going through right now feels quite similar to that sort of white-hot period right before Oklahoma. So I think that everyone who looks at this movement, many people in law enforcement, are very worried at this moment. I think a lot of them feel that really all it's going to take out there is some kind of spark to set this thing off. The Oathkeepers is a really good example of one of the groups that has appeared very recently. The Oathkeepers was started in early 2009 and has grown explosively since then. This is a group composed of military and law enforcement officials who say that what they're all about is pledging allegiance one more time to defend the Constitution of the United States. But what they are really about is the idea that Americans are about to be herded into concentration camps, that martial law is going to be imposed, that foreign troops are going to be on American soil, putting Americans down, and so on. If what the Oathkeepers did was merely pledge one more time to defend the Constitution, there would be nothing remotely bad about it. What is really worrying about a group like the Oathkeepers is this is a group of people who are armed by the rest of society. In the case of police officers, these are people who sometimes have the power of life and death over you or me. And what that means is if these men and women are animated by ideas that are completely false, completely paranoid and groundless, you've got to worry about who they're going to see as the real enemy and what kinds of decisions they make in stressful situations.